so honored to have Dr. Delora Butts-Lucas joining us for our first launch event tonight. And so for those of you who may not know about Dr. Delora, I wanted to read a little bit about her biography for you this evening, just to share a little bit before she gets started with you. Dr. Delora Butts-Lucas was equipped for her calling in ministry and the law and received her Juris Doctor degree from Florida State University College of Law, her master's degree in practical theology from Regent University, and Bachelor of Science degree from Vanderbilt University in Human and Organizational Development. Walking out this calling for over 15 years has positioned her as an invaluable nonprofit and church business consultant and inspiring speaker. Dr. Delora's professional experience includes nonprofit management, supervision, human resources administration, and leadership roles in a private company, public school district, and private higher education institution. Her legal experience includes work in private law firms, the Florida state court system, and her own solo practice. Throughout her practice, Dr. Delora has provided corporate counsel for churches and nonprofits in 25 states. Dr. Delora has been a licensed minister as well since 2001 and was ordained as a reverend in March of 2015, so congratulations on that. She currently serves under the leadership of Bishop Dr. Clifton and Reverend Dr. Marcia Clark at Restoration Christian Fellowship. Over the years, she has served in various areas to include church executive leadership and administration, youth, adult, music, altar, and jail ministries. Having ministered in over 4 different continents, Dr. Delora has had the opportunity to connect and experience firsthand the triumphs, struggles, and diverse cultures of people from around the world. With a great passion for global missions, one of the first international projects she initiated was a campaign to reopen, thank you for that, a Christian school, a village primary school in Ghana, West Africa. We are so honored to have Dr. Delora join us tonight to present on her Living the Dream, 5 Steps to Launching Your Own Business or Nonprofit. And so please join me in welcoming her to come up before you. Oh, sorry. Before we get started too, housekeeping, if you need to use the restroom at any time, it is right by Miss Cecile in the back. And if you have any other questions during the evening, please see Cecile. She'll be more than happy to help you. Also, Michelle's in the back. If you enjoyed tonight's program, please go visit Michelle and help us continue to support the work that we're doing here and events just like this. But with no further ado, here you go.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. Can we just give Tiffany a hand and all of those who are here, a part of the Virginia Beach Community Development Corporation, for this wonderful speaker series. I hear they have a great lineup, and I'm sure that you all are on the list and will receive emails about the things that are coming up. But I just thank you for this opportunity to share on living your dream, 5 steps to launching your own business or nonprofit. And I just want to also recognize Attorney Scriven. He's friends with the executive director, Ms. Thompson, Attorney Thompson, and he told me about this opportunity to present speaker proposals, and because of that, I'm here now. So thank you, Attorney Scriven, there in the back, and for being here in support. So without further ado, I would like to turn to our topic for tonight, Living Your Dream, 5 steps to launching your own business or nonprofit. 5 steps to launching your own business or nonprofit. And before we get down into it, I want to just kind of get a sense of the people who are here in the room, and that'll help me as I'm going through the presentation to know on some things that I want to say more about or say less about. So if you are here and you are looking to launch your own for-profit business, can you just raise your hand so I can kind of poll the audience a little bit? Okay. And if you're looking to launch a nonprofit, okay, or a church specifically, anyone? All right. Good. Okay, and if you're here, you just don't know, maybe you just have this nudge that you want to do something, you don't know what you want to do, but this title just kind of drew you, you're in that category, just raise your hand. Okay. All right. Well, that is where it all begins. So 5 steps to living your dream, whether you're starting your own business, launching a nonprofit, or ministry, then this seminar is for you. I love this quote here. Don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once. Don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the first slide. We're going to go into one of the first steps. But before we delve deep into all of this, I want to take the liberty to have a social media moment. So if you're on Facebook or if you're on Twitter, you can follow me. You can get your phones out right now, follow, like, Facebook.com, Delora B. Lucas. I'm also on Twitter at Delora B. Lucas. If you have comments or you take pictures, or if you're one of those kind of people that's always checking in, tagging, things like that, for tonight, let's use the hashtag DBLAscend. DBLAscend, and that way we can kind of follow the conversations of what's going on in the social media networks. All right? So as my father would say, let's get down to brass tacks. I think you have to be over a certain age to know what that means. All right, 5 steps to living your dreams. 5 steps to living your dreams. Step 1, count the cost. Step 1, count the cost. Step 2, choose a business entity. Choose a business entity. And step 3, create your vision and mission. Create your vision and mission. Step 4, create a business plan. Create a business plan. Step 5, check local and federal laws. Check local and federal laws. And you don't have to take notes too feverishly. We will have these PowerPoints provided to you. So if there's things you want to write down, you don't have to write down what's already written up here, okay? What you may notice is that I've tried to use C's. Think of C's where we can make this easy, the 5 C's, the 5 steps to living your dreams. So count the cost. Just want to spend a little bit talking about the cost. One of the things that we'll talk about when we get into the business plans and other aspects of launching your own business or starting your own nonprofit, there's, of course, financial costs. We all know that there are going to be financial costs, and you're going to have to weigh all of those things, do your research to determine what those financial costs are. But I think sometimes what people may take for granted are the emotional costs, the time sacrifices, those type of things that you have to have when you are launching your own business, because there are going to be times where you have that vision. I hope you're listening. This is the motivational part for tonight, okay? There are going to be times when you can see that vision so clearly and you're trying to articulate it to someone else and they're like, oh yeah, that's great. There's 5 other people doing the same thing. You know, or you'll have your family or friends or people that normally are supportive, and they may not lend the support that you think that they should lend to what you're doing. And sometimes it's because they're just not supportive. And then other times it's because they don't understand and they don't see the vision the way that you see it. So you have to guard your vision, you have to protect your vision, and you also have to realize that there are going to be times when you launch out into your business where you're going to be afraid. You're going to be afraid to let go of that 9 to 5. You're going to be afraid to let go of that steady paycheck, or you're going to be afraid to, what if I fail? That's why the quote that I have on the first slide is a good one to me, because there are going to be times where you're going to try an idea and it's not going to work. You're gonna try something and someone's gonna be able to come back to you and say, I told you so. You know, it did not work. And one of my favorite motivational speakers is Les Brown. If you've never heard of him, you can Google him, some of his speeches. But he talks about when things get hard and when things get rough. And he says, so what if it's hard? If it's hard, just do it hard. And so you're going to have to encourage yourself. You're going to have to motivate yourself, because you're going to be the one that brings your vision, your mission, your idea, your dream to pass. That's why you have to be committed to your mission and your vision, which we're going to be talking about. So I just wanted to start this off with talking about counting the cost and realizing that, oh, it's wonderful and it's great as a baby and it's in its infancy. If you think about children, and their infancy is wonderful, it's great. You have the baby shower, everybody's bringing you gifts and everybody's around, and if you need a babysitter, I'm there. You have all the support that you need. But as that child starts to grow and it gets into those, terrible twos, and you can't find a babysitter, it's going to be the same way. You'll have those seasons when you're working through your vision, when you're working through your business, when you're working through your ministry, whatever it is that you want to do, where you're not going to feel the support that you need. But can you go on in spite of that? Because that's what it's going to take for your vision, your mission, your business to get off the ground, to come to pass. And I won't belabor the point. You can go on and you can read about those who have achieved and accomplished so much, and we see them now. We see the glory, if you will, but we don't know the story behind what they did to get to where they are. So anytime where you can, if you find yourself in that place where you're discouraged and you're just like, one more no, and I'm just gonna let this go. Think about, you can research. Google is a wonderful place. I was telling this young lady here in the front, she was looking at the card and looking at me, and she was trying to decide if that was me on the card. I said it was my braids, right? It threw you off. Well, I went right to YouTube to figure out how to put them up in a bun. Said all of that to say, everything you need to know is right there at your fingertips, all right? So I just want to leave you with that for the first C. The first step is to just really count the costs, because it's going to be a lot of non-financial costs. It's going to be emotional costs. It's going to be costs of time. It's going to be energy. It's going to be effort. It's going to be a lot. So it's not just the financial cost. There are a lot of other costs that are associated with it. You may lose some friendships. You may gain some friendships, like all of the wonderful people that are in the same boat here with you tonight. All right, so the first C is what? Count the cost. All right, you guys are listening, or you're either good readers, but we're going to just say you're listening. All right, next step. Choose a business entity. Choose a business entity. So these are some of the more prominent entities that are out there when you're thinking about setting up, starting your own business. There are these 4 different formats that we're going to talk about tonight: sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, or limited liability company. You may see that different ways: LLC, PLLC, PLC. It's all in that same family. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to decide which type of business entity you want to have, or the one that's going to work best for whatever your particular business, ministry, or idea is. So we're going to look at each one of these. The first one is the sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship. Some people are sole proprietors and you don't even know it. When you go to, I'm from Florida, and I was down there during the time they were having a Pro Bowl, and got a chance to get some tickets and go to the Pro Bowl. And there were these sole proprietors that were on the corner selling T-shirts for the Pro Bowl. Not official. They didn't have the Pro Bowl logo. Probably didn't have the Pro Bowl permission. But we know those sole proprietors. You see them at football games. You see them at basketball games. You see them at any event. I know Virginia Beach, we have so many festivals here. The people that are, selling out of the back of their car, or they have a stand on the side of the street. You may even have your business shop set up. So sole proprietor, that's where you don't have to file any paperwork to become a sole proprietor. There aren't any state filings that you have to do to become a sole proprietor. And one of the drawbacks of the sole proprietorship is that the owner remains personally liable for lawsuits filed against the business. So with the sole proprietorship, there's no separation between the business and the person. So say I'm a sole proprietor and I am selling hot dogs at a football game, and you get sick and you choke and you pass away after eating one of my hot dogs or something, and you bring an action against Dolores Hot Dogs. Well, guess what? You can not only come after whatever money's in the Dolores Hot Dogs account, but you can come after Dolores' house, Dolores' car. You can come after the owner's personal assets. So sole proprietorship is one of the most risky formats of doing business, but it's the easiest one to get going and to get started. As I mentioned, because there isn't any state filing required to form a sole proprietorship. Another characteristic of a sole proprietorship is that the owner reports the profits and losses on your personal tax return. So there is no separation there as well. So sole proprietorship, although it's an easy business format, it's also a very risky business format when it comes in terms of your personal assets. If you could save them for the end, if you could just make a note, and then we'll try to get them all at the end. Okay. I'm going to wait you out on the questions. Just kidding. Okay. Another format is a partnership. A partnership. A partnership is similar to a sole proprietorship in that the owners of the business or the partners in the business are personally liable for lawsuits that are filed against the business. So with a partnership, again, this is a risky business. You can go into, I think you two gentlemen were joking earlier before we started about going into business together. Well, if you were to go into a partnership together and something happened and I were to sue, then I could go after your house, your car, everything that you own. All right? So even with a partnership, partners remain personally liable for lawsuits. Again, this is another easy to form format. You don't have to file any documents with the state, as we'll talk about with corporations and LLCs. Easy to form, easy to operate. The taxes are done the same way. You report your share of the profit and losses on your personal income tax returns. Another thing, and I don't have this on the slide, with a partnership is you want to make sure that if you do form a partnership that you have some type of partnership agreement. It's not required by law, but let's say 5 years down the road, you say, hey, this partnership isn't working out, and your company's worth $10 million, and you're like, well, I did most of the work, I need to get $9 million, and you get $1. You don't want the courts to have to decide that. So you want a partnership agreement in place that's going to dictate certain things about your partnership. What's going to happen when we wind this up? What's going to happen when we dissolve the partnership? If we're going to go our separate ways. So you want to have a partnership agreement, and it can cover a lot of other things as well. Another format that most people are familiar with, a lot of times this is the one that people jump right to. Well, let me just form a corporation, right? The good thing about a corporation is that it provides that shield of liability for those who are directors of the corporation. So with the corporation, you're a legal entity. The corporation becomes a legal entity in and of itself that's separate from you as a person. So let's say you start corporation ABC. So corporation ABC is a legal entity on its own. It's separate from the directors. It's separate from the officers. And with the corporation, also the tax structure, it's separate from you don't file it through your personal income taxes. You file corporation assets and taxes, you file it as its own individual entity. And there are two different types of corporations. I won't get into the details of it, but you have the S corporation and the C corporation, and those entities, the differences are the way that they're taxed and also the shareholder requirements for those two types of entities. So again, this is kind of a broad overview because there's a lot that we're trying to cover in this little bit of time. So this is to kind of whet your appetite to know you're not going to leave here with 100% knowledge of all of these topics, but hopefully you'll know, hey, this is something I need to do a little bit more research on. So with the corporation, your assets, as I mentioned, are separate from the assets of the business. Your debts are separate from the debts of the business. One thing that you have to be careful about with a corporation, because you can go through all of the steps of creating a corporation, setting up the corporation, and then you treat it as if it's your own bank account. So on paper, it looks like a separate entity, but yet if I were to look at the bank accounts, if I were to look at how business is carried on, it looks like there's no separation between you and the corporation. Then what can happen is, say something happens in the corporation, someone tries to sue, and then they want to come after the directors of the corporation. Well, sometimes what the courts will do is they call it piercing the corporate veil, where where there should be a separation between the corporation and the directors. The courts will pierce or go through that veil because they'll say, well, you're a corporation on paper, but you're not running your business like a corporation. You know, all of the corporation income is going into your personal bank account, or you're not abiding by things that are in your bylaws. So there's a lot of factors, for example, that the courts will look to determine. It's not just enough to say, I filed the paperwork, I'm a corporation, but are you acting like a corporation? Are you carrying on as a corporation? There are two different types of corporations that you can form. For-profit corporation and not-for-profit corporation. And sometimes when I'm talking to clients, they'll get confused and they'll think, once I create this nonprofit, then I'm good to go as far as the IRS tax exemption. But that's just the first step. Unless you're a church, and there are some different rules for churches versus other nonprofits. For example, churches, by virtue of the fact of the work that they do, churches are tax exempt. So churches will still sometimes apply for the 501c3 exemption letter. And 501c3, I'm sure you all have heard that term thrown around. That's the section of the IRS code that allows for exemption for charitable activities. So churches are automatically qualify to be tax exempt under the 501c3 code in the IRS code. However, all other nonprofits don't get that automatic qualification. So what churches will do, they will apply for that 501c3 tax exemption letter so they can actually get the official letter from the IRS, because sometimes grants or various things that you might want to apply for will require that tax exemption letter. But for other nonprofits, you definitely want to not stop at the state level creating the corporation, but the next step then would be to obtain that 501c3 tax exemption status. Some of the other requirements with a corporation, you have to hold annual meetings and you have to record those meeting minutes. And these all vary from state to state, but these are some of the general characteristics. The number of directors that you have to have a part of your board, that is also something that varies from state to state. It's a state requirement that looks at what they want to have as a requirement for that state. One of the things that's vitally important with corporations is the bylaws. The bylaws are the governing documents of your organization. As I mentioned earlier in the example talking about partnerships, and you want to make sure you have partnership agreement. Well, your bylaws, as the governing documents of your organization, I'll say this again, are vitally important in the work that I've done with clients all over. As she mentioned, I work with clients in several states, and I have seen some bylaws that are unbelievable. I'll just leave it like that. Some of the things that are left out of the bylaws or some of the things that are actually said in the bylaws, and you're like, what were they thinking? So you want to make sure that you do invest in making sure that you have bylaws that will help you in the time of trouble. It's one of those things where it doesn't matter until it matters. You know, how do you remove the president? You know, how do you remove one of the directors? Or if you're the founding chairman, do you want your board to be able to vote you out as the founding chairman? You know, so there are things that you can put in your bylaws to help prevent those kinds of things. And where your bylaws are silent, sometimes you will be subject to things that you may not want to be subject to, because where your bylaws are silent, then whatever the state statutes say is what you will have to go by. So in most states, you have lots of liberty with your bylaws. It's not too much that they necessarily require, or it varies from state to state. But where your bylaws are silent, say if it's certain items that have to be taken to a vote before the directors, or where your bylaws fail to address certain issues, then you're left to whatever is in the state statute. And that could lead to disagreements between the members, the directors, or ambiguity. I'm trying to think of examples that I can give without shedding any light on divulging any confidential information. But if you have, for example, a process by which you remove an officer, or you say this, we can bring an officer in this way, or say an employee, we can bring an employee in this way, this person has permission or authority to do that, but then you don't address how that person can be removed. Like say if it's for a church and the pastor has authority to bring them on, but it doesn't speak to how they can be removed. Does it have to go before a vote before the board? Does it have to? So I said all of that to say you want to make sure that your bylaws are very well written and well drafted, and that they will meet the needs of your organization and issues that might arise or come up within your organization. Okay, limited liability company. Limited liability company. You see a lot of these nowadays, people move into this LLC model. Again, this is one of the safer entities that allows a separation between the owner or the principal or manager, as they're called with the LLC, and the business itself. So, for example, when I do my consulting, when I'm signing my contracts, I'm signing as the owner of DBL Enterprise. It's not Delora. So you can't come, if something goes awry, you can't come after Delora's, house or car, bank account. You get what's in DBL Enterprise. So limited liability, again, it's a separate legal entity, a separate legal structure apart from the person or the manager, the principal. And that's how you're able to keep everything separate. Again, the same thing with corporation. You want to make sure that you're doing it the way that it's supposed to be done, that you're not LLC on paper, but all the funds are commingled over here, and you're not following your own policies and procedures that you have in place. With a limited liability company, is taxed similarly to a sole proprietorship if you're one owner, or partnership if you're multiple owners, unless you elect to be taxed as a corporation. So this is what some people will do now. They want the freedom and the flexibility that comes with a limited liability company, but they want the tax benefits of being able to be taxed as a corporation. So I'm not an accountant, I'm not a CPA, but my accountant tells me there's benefits to doing it that way, so that's the way I do it. So that's one of the benefits of having a limited liability company. There's no limit on the number of owners. You're not required to hold annual meetings or a record of minutes. And your limited liability is governed by your operating agreement. Just like the bylaws are the governing documents for the corporation, for-profit, or nonprofit, your operating agreement, that's your governing document for your limited liability company. So again, you want to make sure that you have a very well drafted operating agreement with your for your limited liability company, because again, it doesn't matter until it matters. It's like insurance. You know, it's better to need it, have it and don't need it than to need it and don't have it. So you can exist as an LLC, you can exist as a partnership and not have a partnership agreement and not have an operating agreement as an LLC. But you will be left to whatever relief the statutes may provide you, because most states will have a body of law that's for a nonprofit corporation act, or for-profit corporation act, or limited liability company act, that will address certain aspects of governance, but it won't address everything that you want addressed, and it may not address the things the way you want them to be addressed. And that's the benefit, or the great thing about the LLCs and corporations, is that the states give you a lot of leeway with how you want to do business and what rules you want to make for yourself and how you want to regulate your organization. Okay. Next step, create a vision and mission. Okay, back to a little lighter conversation. Create a vision and mission. Good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion. Relentlessly drive it to completion. And this is Jack Welch, Chairman and CEO of GE from 1981 to 2001. And during his time at GE, the company's value rose 4,000%. 4,000%. Now, I don't know much about Mr. Welch, but he must have been a man with vision. And not just vision, but someone who was able to accomplish the mission and put the mission in place to get the vision done. Because a lot of times we can have a great vision, but then we don't have a path of how we're going to get there. So I want to talk a little bit about vision and mission. As I mentioned earlier in the beginning, in talking about counting the cost and really understanding the vision and the mission, primarily the vision, that's the thing that's going to help you to be motivated to carry on and do the thing that you want to do, whether it's your new business, whether it's your nonprofit, whatever that thing might be. For example, just to share a story, Tiffany mentioned when she was talking about some of the things that I'm doing in the school in Ghana, Namye Bechere Christian School. When I went there, the school was broken down, desolate. Someone was actually living in the building, And no education, no learning, nothing was going on. And there were several children that lived in that village who had attended school there when it was operational. And now all of the other students who were coming up under them, or the other children, other family members there in the village, they didn't have a place for education. So there was one young lady in the village who had attended the school, and she said, I want my family members to have the same opportunities that I have. And when we were there, we were visiting with them, and I asked one of the ladies, she said, did you all bring us anything? And I'm looking around, it's a village, mud huts, straw roofs, no running water, no electricity. And I asked the question, I said, what do you need? And she said, we need a school for our children. Well, that was the vision. And I said, okay, I'll figure out the mission and how we're going to make it happen. But fast forward, that was in 2013. Now I got a team together and led the reopening of the school. The school has about 100 kids in it now, from PK1 all the way up to the 6th grade, that are being educated. And as you go, you don't have all of the pieces. I'm sharing this to encourage you. I was going to be coming back to Virginia Beach, 2 days after that. But the obstacle of it being all the way in Ghana, West Africa, number one, it wasn't an obstacle. So when you have a vision, when you have a goal that you're trying to accomplish. So if it means enough to you, then you'll do what you have to do in order to make it happen. So that's why I'm sharing that, to say you have to have a vision that's going to be able to drive you. As he says, you have to passionately own the vision and relentlessly drive it to completion. So that means if I get 1,000 no's, then I have to ask 1,001 times, right? So with the vision statements are basically the essence of your company. What is your company about? It explains what your company, your organization, your nonprofit, what you want to be. This vision statement should be lived daily by you and the employees or the members. It should be communicated directly, indirectly, about how your company acts and talks about itself. So you see it in everything that you do. To give an example, if one of your core values is about excellence, or one of your core values is about children learning, everything that you do should send that message, whether it's in my face or whether it's something that's more subliminal. And in order to do that, you have to be clear about what that vision is. So I'm going to move ahead because I know I'm just halfway through, and I think we have about 21 more minutes, 7:30, right? Okay. So you get the idea, vision statements, and I want to just give a couple examples. Vision statement, a world where everyone has a decent place to live. You can visualize that, right? A world where everyone has a decent place to live. That's the vision for Habitat for Humanity. Here's another one. Our vision is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, to build a place where people can come to find and discover anything they might want to buy online. Amazon. Did they do that? They did that. All right, mission statements. And there's a million out there. As you're developing yours, you can look and see and get ideas. Mission statements describe how you're going to obtain that vision. So you have this vision that you've created. I can see it, I can feel it, I can taste it. How are we going to get there? It's the tactics that make the vision a reality. So you start with this broad vision, and then you think about crafting your specific mission. So if we look at Habitat for Humanity, let's just click back. So remember, their vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And then their mission, seeking to put God's love into action, Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. That's a great mission, right? All right, so you see how the vision and the mission statements connect. And this is one other one I'll share, then I'll move on so we can get through the business plan slides. To provide superior quality healthcare services that patients recommend to family and friends, physicians prefer for their patients, purchasers select for their clients, employees are proud of, and investors seek for long-term returns. So they've covered every partner within their sphere of influence. So they have targeted everybody who benefits from their services, whether they're providing the services or receiving the services. So their mission statements can be broad. Sometimes you'll see them very long, very short, but they should map out how you're going to accomplish your vision. Okay, the next C is to create a business plan. Create a business plan. All right, what is a business plan? I'll let you all talk for a little while. Somebody, what is a business plan?
Procedures on how you're going to run your business.
Excellent. Can you come stand on the microphone so we can get it on the recording?
To me, it's policies and procedures, how to run your business. You know, the procedures that your employees are going to do and the policies they're going to follow to get the job done and accomplish the goals of your business. Kind of like all my military training, all policies and procedures we ever had is in big books. And, you know, you got to read them. And that's about it.
All right. Thank you. Excellent. Yes. How you're going to run your business. If I could use just a phrase, I would say, I think I'm conflicting here. No problem. So your business plan, if I could put it in another word, would be your roadmap. Your business plan is your roadmap. What's your plan to make this great vision that you have, this great mission that you have? What's your plan to make this happen? Right? Your business plan is something that you might use to market to investors, to obtain funding from banks. Your business plan, though, even if you have all of the money to do it yourself, your business plan is a roadmap that helps you to think through all of the things that are going to be necessary for your business, for your nonprofit to succeed. And it also is going to help you to better clarify your vision, your mission, as you're working through that plan. There may be some things that you change about what you thought you were going to do as you're starting out that business. So a business plan is a formal document. It's going to lay out a written plan from a marketing, financial, and operational viewpoint. And I think most of you here were looking to start, but also businesses that are currently in business or established business that's moving in a new direction, a business plan might be something for you to consider as well. So in creating a business plan, these are some of the components, and you can, again, Google all the information that you need in the world is at your fingertips, and you can find, and I'll share some resources at the end, you can find different, I would say there's no right or wrong way to create a business plan. I'll just say that generally speaking, but different sites or places that you'll visit or different people that you'll talk to, they may say, oh, these are the components that you want. Someone else may say, these are the components. But I've chosen some here to talk through just a little that are common in all business plans. So one of the key components of the business plan is the executive summary. If your business plan is a roadmap for your business, I would say your executive summary is a roadmap for your business plan. So before I even get into all of your wonderful business plan, the executive summary provides me a roadmap. It's almost like a table of contents with some descriptions. It's 1 to 2 pages long, and it takes the reader through your business plan. It's a snapshot, if you will, of your business plan. A lot of times what would be easiest to do is once you've actually written out your business plan, then to come back and write your executive summary so you can kind of pull from there. It's easier to reduce it down instead of trying to create it out of thin air, of course. So the next component of the business plan that you want to have is a business description. You want to define various aspects of your products or services that you're offering. What is it that you do? What is it that you're selling? What service are you offering? All of this will be in your business description. Who's going to benefit from the services or the products that you're offering? What markets, what people, what areas are you serving? Also, in this part, some people say to add this, some people say not to add this, but you're going to make your business plan your own flavor. You could include in this section your personal goals and objectives, just depending on, what the business is about. If the business is selling pizza and your personal goal is to be a missionary in China, then maybe you don't want to put that in your business plan. So where it's necessary or where it adds to your ability to be able to accomplish and to succeed at whatever your business is, that's what you want to include in your business plan. So any personal goals or objectives or elements that add to your success and the ownership of the company. Another component that you want to include in your business plan is the market analysis. You want to understand the strengths and the weaknesses of your competition or potential competition. Because that's going to be critical, as I have written here, to make sure that your business survives and grows. You need to know who the competition is, and you think about this in terms of where you're located, who you're going to be targeting. Looking at your competition, you can learn a lot from your competition. I don't know, I'm not going to talk about the Super Bowl champions, but they would say you can learn a lot about your competition, or you can be successful. Did you all get that joke? Oh, okay. It's like, okay, go Atlanta. So it's important that you look at your competition, okay, and that you know your competition, because you don't want to make the same mistakes that your competition made, of course, but you also can get clues from some of the things that your competition is doing. What are the marketing strategies that they're using? Are those marketing strategies working for them? Looking at your competition will also help you to kind of narrow in and focus on what your own objectives are. It may help you when looking at the competition, say they cover A, B, and D. Well, you may see there's a hole in where you thought you were going to cover A, B, and D. Now you can specialize in covering C. So just doing a market analysis. Operations and management, the purpose of this section is to help you to outline the administrative side of your business, and I'm going to kind of rush through because I want to leave some time for questions. With the operations and management, what's your organizational structure going to look like? What's your org chart? Who runs the company? How is the organization managed? Who does what in your business? What's their background? Why are they in those positions? Because again, what you're trying to do with your business plan is you're trying to tell the story of how your business is going, how and why your business is going to succeed. But even more than tell the story, the purpose for you creating the plan is because you're planning, you're putting things in place to ensure that your business succeeds. So these are not just boxes that you check to say, oh, okay, I've done this, I've done that. But you're really thinking through it, you're analyzing, you're planning, do I want to thinking about how the market is and thinking about what marketing strategies we need. Who do I need to put on my team? So your business plan is a document to help you to plan how you're going to operate, run, and make your vision come to pass. Another section that you want to include services or products. And this section is where you break down your services that you're offering, what products you might be selling. If it's something that you're developing, you have a new idea, here is where you'll put that type of information. Is this an existing product? How long is it going to take for me to create this product and bring it to the market, or this service and bring it to the market? So those are the things that you'll consider with the services and products. Marketing and sales. This is critical because I'm totally going to mess up this quote, but I hear it on the radio all the time. There's a station, and he says, if you are you have your business, you're doing your business, but you're not advertising, it's like, I can't remember it. It's like a shouting in, nobody can hear you, or something to that effect. But yeah, something like that. But the idea, sorry I blew that quote, but the idea is that you can be the best church on East Little Creek Road, but you don't advertise, you don't have a Facebook page, you don't have a website, you don't have a Twitter account, you don't advertise on the radio, you don't who's going to know that you're there? Who's going to even know that you exist? So it's not just about being the best, but then you also have to employ marketing and sales strategies that are going to let people know that you are the best. And you're going to focus those marketing and sales strategies on your target market. So that's why understanding and knowing your vision is important, your mission, all of the other components that we've talked about, because you need to be able to know who you're targeting and who you're marketing to. Another thing with marketing and sales, you want to be able to differentiate you from the competitors, your business from the other business. How are you going to be able to compete with prices, with products, with your service? So those are some of the components with marketing and sales. And with the financial summary is the last component that we're going to talk about with the business plan. Most business plans include at least 5 basic reports or projections. Again, I'm not a finance person, but these are some of the things that you want to include within your business plan. Again, Google is your best friend, or if you have an accountant, a CPA that can help you through this, or just another experienced business finance person. These things are very easy to find. I will share some resources at the end. The Small Business Administration, the U.S. Small Business Administration, for example, they have a software that will help you. It'll walk you right through your business plan. It basically asks you questions, you fill in the questions, and then at the end, it spits out a business plan for you. So I'll have links for that at the end of the presentation. So these are the things, though, that these various elements that I've discussed that you want to make sure that you include in your business plan. And we have just 2 more slides. The last C, the 5 steps, check local and federal regulations. Check local and federal regulations. Most cities require some type of business license for you to have. So once you decide you're going to do your sole proprietorship, your partnership, your LLC, your corporation, whatever it's going to be, make sure you check with you can go to your city's website and find out what licensing you need. Are you going to need a business license? Are you going to need some type of occupational license or certificate. What industry are you working in? Does your industry require you to have a certain license? I'm also an attorney. I have an immigration law practice. Well, the legal industry requires me, in addition to creating my LLC, I had to go a step further, then I have to register my practice with the Virginia Bar Association. So it's important to know, depending upon which industry you're in, if you're going to have a business where you're selling alcohol, what licenses are needed there? If you're starting a hair salon, a nail salon, what licenses are needed there? Occupational and professional licenses. So you want to make sure that you have those things that you need. Anything that you need to file with the IRS, file it because they will find you if you don't file those things. Charitable solicitation, this is something that a lot of times charities or nonprofits will forget about or don't know about, but if you're soliciting contributions within a state, you're supposed to register through that state. There's a charitable solicitation registration, and that varies from state to state. Usually it's done through the Department of Agriculture, but these are just some of the things that you want to be mindful of. So you want to check your local and federal regulations. If you have people that you know that are already working in those industries, they can also help you in figuring out what you don't know, right? Because it's not what we know that hurts us, it's what we don't know that hurts us. So I'd like to just share a few resources with you. Again, you'll get these slides, but I mentioned the U.S. Small Business Administration. At SBA.gov, there's a wealth of resources and information. The activity of making your business plan, you can log in. They'll save the data as you go, create your business plan on there. Another great resource is Business One Stop. It's the Virginia.gov website. Another great resource is B-Plans, Starting a Business Made Easy. So there is a wealth of information out there. Being here in the U.S., this is one of the greatest places to get started with a business because you can start businesses almost, within a week or less and have everything you need set up and ready to go. And it's not like that everywhere else. I'm still waiting on some paperwork from like 3 years ago to set up a NGO in Ghana. So we're living in the best country on earth. We can all live our dreams, whatever that dream may be, as far as owning your own business, starting your own ministry or nonprofit. So I would like to, I think we have about 3 more minutes to take questions, but don't feel like you have to necessarily ask them all now. I do have my cards in the back on the table if you didn't get one. And I do offer complimentary 30-minute consultations to talk about your business or your idea, what you want to do. And what I'll offer tonight, anybody who uses any of my consultation services, I'll give you to the end of this month to sign up, and I'll give you a 25% discount for being here. So, any questions?
All right, now we have you. Hold on, I'm coming for you.
Well, she has some questions about having a business license in the state of Virginia, so she can answer.
All right.
Okay, great. So I've answered it. Does anybody else have a question that she can answer for you tonight? Coming for you.
I have a question about the personal guarantor. Usually people, when you have an LLC, people still require you to list yourself as a personal guarantor. Like, is there any protection against that? Like, what's the point?
Well, I think over time, what happens is you can build that credit. It's just a time thing. It's like credit, and you have the option not to enter into that contract or not.
So pretty much, if you are the personal guarantor, you still don't get any protection from the LLC, right?
That's correct, because you're basically signing that away when you say, I'm going to guarantee it personally.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions tonight? Okay. I just want to make sure we're recording it so that we can share it for guests that maybe weren't able to make it tonight.
When you talk about market analysis, is it good to do a SWOT analysis?
SWOT analysis, yes. I think that could definitely be a part of what you're doing with your whole business plan, and it'll help you in developing other sections of your plan as well.
I couldn't help but ask a question.
Uh-oh.
Could you say what factors someone should consider in choosing a partner or members of the corporation's officers? Do you automatically include your spouse, significant other, or not?
Good question. Definitely just, from my own perspective, I would say somebody that is of honest, someone who has integrity, because a lot of times that's some of the issues that will cause divisions when you have somebody that's doing something, that's not in the best interests of all of those involved, but they're kind of putting their own interests above that of the LLC. But also it's broad, because I could also think about, you said like directors, if you had like a corporation and you're trying to choose your directors, you would want to consider a variety of things depending on what the corporation's goals are, what the products and services are that you're offering. If you don't want to have everybody that's a director is a lawyer, and your business is something with education, or you want to diversify, just like they tell you with, stocks. You want to diversify the people that you have as a part of your board of directors. You want to people that you're able to work with and I think communicate well with, and be prepared to disagree with and still be friends and can work through whatever it is that you're going through. So yeah, I don't think you should necessarily just throw your spouse on the board just because it's your spouse. It may or may not be the right person for that position.
So the question I have is, say for instance, you decided to open up an LLC for hair braiding. So that's what you're doing. However, later on you decide that you want to teach hair braiding. So can you put that secondary income, that secondary job under that original LLC, or do you have to have multiple LLCs for the different pots of money?
Yeah, generally speaking, you can put it under there. It all depends on what you've written as a part of your purpose for the LLC. So when you're forming your LLC, that's why usually people are very broad with the purpose that they have in the governing documents or in that formation document. It's not like your mission or your vision. Your formation document for organizing your LLC is usually very broad. If you go to the Virginia State Corporation Commission website and you look at the articles of organization they have for LLC, you can do it right online and have your LLC tonight. And it's very broad as far as the purpose. So yeah, you could do different things under that LLC.
How do you generate revenue with the nonprofit?
I think that would be another program. I think that would be another program. And, depends on what your nonprofit is. You're offering products and services just like everybody else. So there are ways to generate revenue with a nonprofit. Think about a church, for example. It's a nonprofit. They generate revenue. Salvation Army is a nonprofit. It generates revenue. So through the products and services that you offer, through donations and contributions, there are ways to do it through grants, multiple ways. But that's definitely something that you would research and have a part of your business plan, your strategies to get income for your organization.
All right, are there any more questions before we wrap up for the evening? No? All right, well, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking with us tonight and sharing your presentation. So can we give her a round of applause? And I want to also say thank you so much for supporting our first 2017 Ascend Speaker Series event. For those of you who may not know a whole lot about our organization, we've been around since 1985, and we are actively working to spread our word and to market, like you were sharing, that we need to do. So if you know of somebody that is in need of affordable housing, supportive services, or just looking to attend events that are like this in the community, please share the word, let them know what you thought of tonight's event, and also just help us to not only help people to survive, but help empower them to live their best lives. That is our vision statement for Virginia Beach. We want to be a nonprofit that stands out for our care for people and for our community. And so we want to thank you so much for your support of our organization and for this series as we continue to do that throughout the rest of the year. If you want to financially contribute to supporting that mission, please speak with Michelle. We also have volunteer opportunities. If you're looking for a more hands-on way to connect in your community, please see me. But for any questions, I'll be around for the next few minutes. So if you're looking to connect in with some of the services we offer, please see me as well, and we'll go ahead and get that connected for you. Thank you so much for coming out to tonight's event, and drive safe. I hope you enjoyed it.